How often or how much time do you dedicate to prepping? You personally, not everybody, because everybody's different, like you said. So when you do it, what is it that you do? Is there certain things? Is it food storage? Is it gardening? Is it a secure place to be? What do you do, and how much time do you spend doing it?
Well, it might be a little bit different for us because, we do this for a business. But in our personal prepping, it's really not all that time consuming. It's really a matter of learning how to shop properly. You're already going to buy food. You might as well buy the food now while it's today's prices. And we teach people how to double their food purchases for the same price, through strategic buying and couponing and everything else. We're already going to do that. So next year, if nothing happens, we'll eat the food at today's prices. Can't beat that. Gardening, we've experimented with gardening, organic gardening. It's a lot harder than people think. People think they can just get some seeds, throw a garden together, and they're good to go. That's not the case whatsoever. Failure rate on that is terrible. The learning curve is very steep. So do I spend a lot of time actually prepping? No, not really. Not any more than you would spend with a regular hobby that's not obsessive. I might do a lot more reading, but I'm doing less reading of other things that I would have been doing anyway. I might have been reading something fiction before, but now I'll read a blog, or I'll read a book, or I'll read a homesteading reference or something, but it's just as fun.
What exactly are you prepping for? What are some of the variables that are out there, and what is it that could be scenario that you guys might be preparing for?
We prepare for mainly everyday disruptions. It could be anything from a flat tire to a job loss. The bigger things are going to be hurricanes. Down here, that's an ongoing thing, and we're making a big push now because hurricane season is winding up. It could be a very active season. So those are the big things that we prepare for. A lot of people, it's a personal economy situation. Put a little bit aside now while you've got it, so that if you lose your job, then you've got some extra food there. You don't have to worry about that.
Do you have I know that a couple of the people that I've asked so far, they have a set amount of time that they'll be okay should they have to rely solely on what they've been preparing. Is there a time span that you guys have that says, okay, we'll be good for a month, or we'll be good for a week or 6 months? Do you do it that way, and do you have?
Yeah. Well, what you'll find is some people just want to be prepared, like I said, for 3 days or their 72 hours, and then they find that they enjoy it. They enjoy not having to go to the store so often. I haven't been to Publix in ages. I just go to the room and the pantry room and pick up whatever I want and start making dinner because we buy in bulk. But the time limit, no. We started out with a few days. We moved up to a few weeks. I'd say that if we had to, we could live a year at this point. We teach to our students a tiered food storage strategy where you buy all the regular food that you would buy anyway, and then just keep buying a little bit extra every time you go to the store and set it aside. And then we've moved on to learning how to do small animals, with chickens and rabbits, and we've learned how to garden. And theoretically, with the system that we have, we could sustain a disaster that might last a couple of weeks. Like we were out of power during the 04-05 season for a total of a month, and we live here in Palm Beach County. So, but we're out, at the end of the power line. So it's not unrealistic. But if need be, if something did happen, a bigger scenario, we could end up being completely self-sustainable based on the system that we have. And it's a little bit more complicated, and it's all on our website. We talk about it in our blog, but those are the things we teach our students.
Was it, I don't know if your wife was, for as many years as you doing this, I don't believe she was. Did you have to kind of convince her to do it? Was she receptive to it? How do you get people to kind of to open their eyes to such a lifestyle?
People accept it when they're ready. It's one of those things that a lot of people will look at it and say, you're crazy. Why would I bother doing that? And they'll go back to watching Dancing with the Stars or whatever's on TV. And then some people pay a little more attention to what's going on in the world, and they say, you know what, I think I'd rather do it. You cannot convince people to do it if they don't want to do it. I've got friends that I said, hey, hurricane season's coming. Why don't you set some food and water aside and learn how to do some basic first aid? And they, nah, that'll never happen here. I've had people from New York City come down and say, I live in the middle of the city. Why will I ever need to be prepared for anything? It's like, okay, you can't tell them. And then I've got people that I've had to slow down and say, stop worrying about, the big doomsday disasters. Why don't you start maybe with the more likely scenarios of, thunderstorms and the power goes out, hurricanes, it knocks out some of the local power. Some areas are too close to a chemical plant. Maybe you want to learn what do you need to take with you in case there was a chemical spill and you had to evacuate real quick? What if there's a wildfire? We're in the middle of wildfire season right now. How many houses have burned down in Texas? And, well, let's go back to 1998, Florida, where they evacuated most of the state, it seems like, and all of Flagler County was evacuated, and people had minutes to grab their belongings and go. We help people organize all the critical documents. We help them prepare with a bag that they can take with them and go. We help them build their bags and their kits to put in their cars. So, if something happened, like with New York City, they've got stuff that they need, So that's the kind of stuff that we prepare for, and that's how we help people understand how to prep.
And how is business going? Because I know you said the interest is up. I mean, are people more and more, they're doing it, I'm assuming, and when they come back to you and say a month or 2 months after they meet with you the first time, are they sticking with it? Is it something that people kind of get hooked on? What are you seeing with your clients?
People do get hooked on it. They find out, it goes back to, there's a little bit of a trend that's coming back over the nation. Our generation, for the most part, was not taught a lot of the homesteading stuff that Grandma learned. We didn't learn the lessons that our great-grandparents, when they went through the Depression, learned. My grandmother said if she wouldn't have had a garden when they were going through the Depression, they'd all starved to death. It's just simple stuff, but we weren't taught that. We're taught just-in-time commerce. We're taught, we can always run to the drive-through. So it's when it comes to prepping, people are accepting it. The trend is there. People are seeing it's not that hard and it's really not that crazy. The government has come out and basically told everybody to learn to prepare. They've told everybody, make a plan and get a kit. NASA has even come out with its own emergency network, for a major power outage, and said be prepared for years without a power outage if something happened. I mean, if the government's going to tell you to do that, how is it that crazy to do it?
Mm-hmm. For you guys, I know that we chose to do a more general location for our interview. The people I talked to down in Pompano, they have certain locations, like more than one location where they could go, or at least have preparations ready to go with a small group of people. Is that something you folks do? I mean, how far do you take it? Is there a secure area that you can go to? Is there a place and a group of people that you know that you can rely on? Talk about what you folks do as a family.
Yes.
Without going into,
There is, but it's not as you would see on TV. It's really about making friends that you can trust, working together, just checking on each other, but knowing you could go to family. If you got family out of state, part of your preparedness plan should be to have a remote contact. That remote contact could be the place that you go. It doesn't need to be a full-on doomsday retreat. It's just somewhere that you go. A lot of people, when a hurricane comes, they say, I'm just packing up and leaving. Well, they're doing the same thing. They're just going somewhere else. As far as a retreat location, that's a very personal thing for a lot of people. That's their operational security. We teach people not to talk too much, not to be too trusting in people. Vet your friends carefully and just go from there.
Why is that? I mean, what the risk is what? That in a time of crisis that almost the people that are prepared could become a target, or what's the risk there?
Well, that happens. That happens a lot. Like I said, I was deployed to Hurricane Andrew amongst a dozen other major storms and hurricanes in South Florida, and the people that didn't have stuff, the first thing they did, and you've seen it on TV with Katrina, what were they doing? They were already looting. They were stealing stuff. In Hurricane Andrew, it was a complete collapse of authority. There was anarchy. We never went anywhere alone. As soon as the sun went down, people started shooting. That's just how it goes. So, yes, you do become a target if you sit and tell everybody in the world that you've got something that they want. So you just keep it to yourself, and you never tell anybody everything.